Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Yeshi Chanzam. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 23rd of September. India-China agreed not to send more troops to line of actual control. US envoy Khalilzad says Afghans will suffer if Doha peace talks fail. And job scarce in Bangladesh as COVID-19 restrictions remain. And now for all the details. India and China have agreed to stop sending more troops to their de facto border line of actual control in the western Himalayan region of Ladakh and to avoid any actions that might complicate the tense situation there. Both the countries in a joint statement said they have agreed to refrain from unilaterally changing the situation on the ground.
India and China have agreed to stop sending more troops to the de facto border line of actual control in the western Himalayan region of Ladakh and to avoid any actions that might complicate the tense situation there. A joint press release issued by the Indian government in New Delhi said both sides had agreed to avoid misunderstandings and misjudgments and refrain from unilaterally changing the situation on the ground. This came after senior military officials from both the countries met earlier this week. Thousands of Indian and Chinese troops are currently amassed along the border in Ladakh, a move triggered by standoffs that began in May and escalated in June into a hand-to-hand combat in which 20 Indian soldiers were killed.
This time is very hot for China. So it would be better to lie low, talk of peace, talk of tranquility. And China is scared that if additional troops are mustered and mobilized by Indian army, then the aim is very clear.
Meanwhile, residents of Leh city in India's union territory of Ladakh on Wednesday expressed relief over the announcement and said the step was necessary to ensure peace prevails in the cold desert region.
वैसे नहीं भेजो तो अच्छा है हमारे लिए शांति ठीक होगा वॉर से बेटर है शांति पीस हाँ जी.
Amid the border standoffs, both countries had said they were attempting to resolve the situation through diplomatic and military channels, but talks appear to have made little headway so far.
The death toll in building collapse in Bhiwandi city of India's western Maharashtra state rose to at least 39 on Wednesday. As many as 25 people have been rescued so far. Rescue workers battled rain and cramped conditions to scour through rubble and look for possible survivors. The three-storeyed building collapsed on Monday and teams from the NDRF, fire brigade and police reached the spot and carried out rescue operations. The owner of the building has been booked for culpable homicide and negligence, causing hurt and is still absconding. Meanwhile, normal life has been disrupted in Mumbai due to severe waterlogging following heavy rainfall. Rail and road movement was severely hit at several places, forcing civic body BMC to declare a holiday for all private and government establishments except emergency services. According to Weather Department, Mumbai is expected to receive moderate rain till September 28. Moving on, Pakistani human rights activist Anila Gulzar has said that Pakistan is no more a safe place for religious minorities to live. While attending the UNHRC session in Geneva this week, she highlighted forced conversion of girls from minority communities in Pakistan and misuse of blasphemy laws.
Pakistani human rights activist Anila Gulzar, while attending the 45th UNHRC session in Geneva this week, said Pakistan is no more a safe place for religious minorities to live. She highlighted forceful conversion of girls from minority Hindu, Sikh and Christian communities in Pakistan and also condemned judicial system in the country over the recent case of 37-year-old Christian man named Asif Parvez, who was sentenced to death last week on blasphemy charges in a trial that ran since 2013. Asif Parvez, a garment factory worker, was accused by his supervisor of sending derogatory remarks about the Muslim prophet Muhammad to him in a text message. Parvez told the court the accusation was made only after he had refused to convert to Islam.
आसिफ परवेज़ को ब्लेस्फेमी लॉ के अंदर उन्होंने अरेस्ट करवाया और आज वो उसको पिछले हफ्ते सजाए मौत सुना दी गई है। हिंदू, सिख और क्रिश्चियन जितनी भी मिनॉरिटीज़ पाकिस्तान में हैं, उनके रहने के लिए जगह इतनी तंग कर दी गई है कि वो इस वक्त सफ़र कर रहे हैं।
Meanwhile, on Tuesday, Sikh groups in India took to the streets and protested near the Pakistan High Commission in New Delhi over alleged kidnapping of a minor Sikh girl in Pakistan. Bulbul Kaur, a 17-year-old daughter of a priest at Panja Sahib Sikh shrine in Pakistan, was allegedly abducted by two men 15 days ago. She was later traced by police only after the Indian Foreign Ministry intervened in the matter. The protesters demanded international community's attention to such frequent cases of abductions and forced conversion of girls from minority communities in Pakistan.
The Islamabad High Court on Tuesday said the onus was on Pakistan's federal government to bring back former Premier Nawaz Sharif from London to stand a trial in corruption cases against him in Pakistan.
The Islamabad High Court or IHC on Tuesday said that the Pakistan's federal government was responsible for bringing back former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif from London to stand a trial in the country. Leader of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party Nawaz Sharif, a convict in Avonfield corruption reference, has been living in London since November last year after the Lahore High Court granted him an 8-week bail in 2019 for treatment due to his deteriorating health condition. The Islamabad High Court had on September 15 issued non-bailable arrest warrants for Sharif, who has failed to surrender despite warnings by the bench. On Tuesday, Additional Attorney General on behalf of the state informed the court that Pakistan High Commission in the UK had sent an arrest warrant to Sharif, which was received by Sharif's son Hassan Nawaz. However, Sharif's party and lawyer have said that he was getting treatment for various medical complications and would return only if allowed by doctors.
Moving on, United States Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad has said the US will protect its interest in all circumstances in Afghanistan and that the Afghan people will suffer if there is no peace settlement. The remarks by the envoy comes at a time when intra-Afghan talks to discuss peace in Afghanistan are being held in Doha.
The United States Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad on Tuesday testified before the U.S. House Oversight and Reform Subcommittee on National Security about Washington's Afghanistan policy and said the U.S. will protect its interest in all circumstances in Afghanistan and that the Afghan people will suffer if there is no peace settlement.
Thank you very much.
Khalilzad asserted the reduction in U.S. troops does not mean the U.S. forces cannot carry out their mission in Afghanistan. He added a re-evaluation will be necessary when troops get down to 4,000 to 5,000. The remarks by the US envoy comes amid ongoing negotiations in Qatar's capital Doha that have made slow progress over the last 10 days despite meetings between the contact groups of the Afghan government and the Taliban.
The talks are an Afghan-led and Afghan-owned process where two warring sides are negotiating a roadmap for the future of their country. The Afghans are yearning for peace, and there is overwhelming support among them for these talks and for a political settlement.
The two warring sides of Afghanistan are discussing 20 article rules and regulations for the peace negotiations. The contact groups are expected to hold more meetings this week to finalize the procedure and then work on the agenda for the talks.
In news from Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka's former President Maithripala Sirisena and former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe have been summoned before the presidential panel probing the Easter Sunday attacks for giving their testimonies on the deadly terror strikes. The panel was appointed by Sirisena. The presidential panel probing the Easter Sunday attacks in Sri Lanka has summoned former President Maithripala Sirisena and former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe for giving their testimonies on the deadly terror strikes. While Sirisena is scheduled to appear before the Commission on October 5, Vikramasinghe will testify before the panel on October 6, the officials said on Tuesday. The previous government headed by Sirisena and Vikramasinghe was blamed for its inability to prevent the attacks, despite prior intelligence made available on the impending attack. Sri Lanka was rocked by a series of deadly blasts on April 21, 2019 in and around the capital Colombo as large groups gathered at churches for Easter. More than 250 people, including 11 Indians, were killed in the attack. Meanwhile, former Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando, while testifying before the Commission on Monday, accused the then Head of State Intelligence Services Nilantha Jayawardene for negligence of duty. Fernando said Jayawardene was acting closely with Sirisena. Sirisena's media office rubbished all accusations of Fernando. Fernando was arrested and jailed alongside the then police chief Puji Jayawardene for criminal negligence over their inaction to prevent the attacks, despite the availability of prior intelligence. Moving on to news from Bangladesh. As coronavirus cases across the populous Bangladesh continue to rise, unemployment is making the situation worse for daily wage workers and many others. People with no source of income are switching their professions and preferring to leave the expensive city lives and heading back to their villages.
Groups of people gathering on the streets of Bangladeshi capital Dhaka is a common sight in some parts of the city these days, as men wait with tools in hands to be hired as they queue in sneaking lines for free food handouts. With social distancing restrictions and worries over the coronavirus pandemic, economy has slowed down drastically in Bangladesh, sending more jobless people out into the streets every day and hungry people to mosques and other institutions for free meals. Around 80% of Bangladesh exports are from the garment sector, which used to employ 4 million people, mostly of whom are women. Millions of dollars worth of orders have now been cancelled as shops around the world shut down and factories lie idle, as many employees were let go in March when lockdowns were put in place. Bangladesh has reported 352,178 coronavirus cases, with 5,007 deaths associated to the infection.
Menstruation and menstrual practices still face many social, cultural and religious restrictions, which are a big barrier in the path of menstrual hygiene management. In a bid to promote menstrual hygiene, a restaurant in Western India has set up a sanitary pad vending machine for women. A restaurant in India's western Surat city has set up a sanitary pad vending machine for women in a bid to promote menstrual hygiene. Taking inspiration from Bollywood film based on a manufacturer of low-cost sanitary pads, Padman, the restaurant owner took the step after seeing the kinds of problems women face due to non-availability of pads. Signboards have been on the main and washroom gate about sanitary pads being available at the restaurant.
हमने मेन डोर पे भी लिखा हुआ है और वॉशरूम के ऊपर भी लिखा है, तो जो भी लेडीज़ को ज़रूरत पड़ती है वो हमारे पास से एक 5 रुपीज़ का टोकन कॉइन लेती है. अंदर वॉशरूम के अंदर जो वेंडिंग मशीन लगा है उसके अंदर एक रेड बटन है, वो प्रेस करेंगे, कॉइन इंसर्ट करेंगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली हाइजीनिकली पैड अपने आप बाहर आ जाएगा और वो लोग यूज़ कर सकते हो.
Any customer coming to the restaurant or woman passing by can come and collect sanitary pad for their use from the vending machine.
ये एक बहुत ही अच्छा इनिशिएटिव है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जैसे आज के टाइम पे लोग पीरियड्स की बातें करने के लिए इतना हिचकिचाते हैं, तो इस टाइम पे इनका जो ये इनिशिएटिव है बहुत ही अलग और बहुत बोल्ड इनिशिएटिव है.
For many Indian women, especially adolescent girls, menstruation is shameful and uncomfortable. From being barred from religious shrines to dietary restrictions to a lack of toilets and sanitary products, they face many challenges when they have their periods, campaigners say. Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/AsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @Asia Newsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.